toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome on to another edition here of the Patriots Touchback Podcast, Season 2, Episode 31. And we can finally announce and say that the season is officially over and done with. The Patriots ended up on winning 23-16. In other ways, that would sound like a good way to end the season. But in this particular case, no. It has not ended in the way we wanted it to, and it may have set our franchise back by 2 seasons. But we'll get more into it as the show goes on. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, your Gronk spiking the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts as well. And big hello and thank you to all of you that are watching us on Twitch for the very, very first time. So big up to you guys as well. Without further ado, let's get the panel on. We got a full house. It took us 6 bloody weeks, and we finally have a full house. Something must have happened, and we'll find out sooner rather than later. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
I've been better.
I swear Nick has answered that to pretty much every single intro we've had this season.
Once a week.
One of these days, he will be better.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's that bad every week, is it?
Well, maybe this season, but...
You now make me want to go back and see them all to see what my answer was every morning.
I mean, it was either that or go into one of Jigsaw's traps and try and get out of it. But I would probably say you prefer the latter. Anyhow, so let's crack on. So New England beat the Buffalo Bills 23-16 in a game which, from a fan's perspective, we had to lose. Lose and keep the first overall pick and have the opportunity to trade down so we can get picks for the future and try and rebuild this shambles of a squad. Unfortunately, that has not happened. And New England ended up winning the game. We now drop to the 4th overall pick. And on top of all of that, well, we can't say we were warned. You can't say that we didn't know what was going to happen. But literally within about 30 minutes after the game finished, Jerod Mayo got fired as the head coach of the New England Patriots. Not even last of the season. One and done, you could say. We've all got our say on this. But there's one particular person who has kept his powder dry. He hasn't said a single word on the group chat since the game ended. So this is where Mr. Nick Cosgrove is about to take the floor and, might turn the airwaves blue. So, Nick, over to you, my friend. It is all yours. Take it away.
I mean, you think it's going to be fireworks. It's not. I was so angry on Sunday night, and having come off a great week with the college football and the college playoff, and I didn't see us beating Buffalo, and just watching that on Sunday, and I like you, Carl, was on watching Red Zone, so I had Red Zone on the tablet. I had the main Sky game, which was Tampa Bay and New Orleans on the telly. And just watching the Patriots go ahead, and you think, oh, right, okay. And then it just keeps happening, and they keep going ahead, and they're like, right, okay, this is not good. And I got to that point where sort of third quarter where Buffalo took the lead. And I'm like, right, this is where we're going to crumble. This is where we're going to... No, we went back and scored again. And had I had anything reasonable to throw, I would have thrown it. I only had my phone, a TV remote, and a tablet, an iPad. So I had nothing willing. I wasn't going to smash stuff out for the Patriots. That was not what I was willing to do. So, I just sat and everyone knows when you're really angry and you've gone past that shouting, screaming phase, and you just, when you used to do something wrong as a kid, and your parents used to say, "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed," and you used to get that silence. That's how I felt. I just felt like saying to all of the Patriots, "I am not angry, I am not mad, I am disappointed in the lot of you." But our backups were better than their backups. I get it. Some of those backups are playing for a career. They're playing for a job. So I get that they want to go out and do their best. But at the point where Buffalo then went ahead, I'm sorry, Milton, you've shown what you can do in that first half. Just hand the ball off. Hand the ball off, run a yard and take a knee. Hand the ball off, run a yard, take a knee. Hand the ball off, run 4 yards backwards and take a knee if you really want. They should, as soon as Buffalo went ahead, they should have just run and took a knee, run and just took the odd yard here and there, because Buffalo didn't want to win that game. They had no interest in winning that game. And it was just sad. It was sad to see. And to be honest, it was pathetic. It's been pathetic all season. The coach has been pathetic. The offensive line's been pathetic. The Christian Gonzalez deserves some credit. He put some. The whole team's been pathetic, And I don't know what else you want me to say, because, it's pathetic. That's it. That's all I've got to say. Pathetic.
It's not surprising. It really isn't. The fact that we can't win games and we keep losing badly, and yet when we need to lose games, we win them. It's Stockholm syndrome. Unfortunately, we've dealt with pretty much all season, and it now comes a point where there has to be firings. There has to be someone let go of. Who is it? Jerod Mayo is the fall guy. He has, as I said, he's been fired already. 4-13 season, the same as last season. But I actually think this season's worse than it was last season. At least we could turn around and say the defense played lights out, but the offense was putrid. This year, it seems like it's roles reversed, and it feels like it's worse, because it's not so much as that. It's the fundamentals of what Jerod Mayo said. From the starting press conference when he first walked in to the minute he walked out of the door, it's been nothing more but a shambolic hiring. And the reason why I wanted to jump on this, Kate, is because the Kraft, obviously Robert Kraft, if anybody had watched last night, he had the press conference yesterday in regarding of Jerod Mayo's firing. Hang on a second. Let me just get the tweet up. But I'll be with you in literally 10 seconds. Where are we? Right, can you see that now, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see it now. So basically, this is the tweet from Evan Lazar, Patriots Chairman, CEO Robert Kraft's full opening statement today on moving on from Jerod Mayo. I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Jerod because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team. Now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships. So that's an owner that's taking all the accountability there by basically saying, I fudged up. I didn't go through the proper hiring process. I just took the guy that we just had on our coaching staff already, ready for him to go when Bill Belichick left, and it blew up spectacularly in his face. And I think a lot of people were very skeptic when Jerod Mayo came in because he wasn't even a DC. You could say he was a de facto DC, but let's be real, Bill Belichick ran that defense like an iron fist. So there's no, he was an inside linebackers coach. If you
think for me,
go on, Joe.
I think for me, the whole Mayo thing, I think I lost faith after the Jags game. You cannot come out and accuse your players of playing soft. Even if they are, you cannot publicly come out and slam your players and throw them under the bus like that. And I think I've read a few things today where a lot of the senior players have said, even from the get-go at like training camp and mini camps, that there was just no cohesion of what was going on. Every day was different. And they've just, I think the Jags game was the breaking point, and that's where it was lost. And I think from there it was downhill. I don't think Kraft was left with a choice but to sack Jerod Mayo. I didn't think he would. I said that in the group chat. I honestly thought he wouldn't, especially if we beat Buffalo. I didn't think he'd come out, or especially as quickly as he did, and sack him. But ultimately, it's the right decision. And ultimately, you've got to hold your hands up and give Kraft credit in this in the end, because he's come out and he's acted swiftly. He's not let it drag on for a week or so, or a few days. He's done it immediately after the game. So he would have known going into that game that what his decision was, I think. And I think the fact, and I know it sounds stupid saying, but I think winning the game, costing us the first overall draft pick, just cemented it even more.
So this was,
I think,
go on, Kieran.
Just going back to something that he said in the exit statement immediately after the firing, he said, "I was afraid we would lose Jerod, so I instilled him as the heir apparent to Belichick, in one word or another." And I think that's where he nailed his colours to the mast, because it was panic. It was like, well, he's interviewing with other teams. We want to keep him around. Oh, I'm going to have to make him head coach. And that was an error in itself, because like he's now referenced in his comment yesterday, saying he just needed more time. But you've contradicted yourself. Maybe you could have retained him as defensive coordinator. I said on the podcast last week, what they should have done really was hire Mike Vrabel last year and promote Jerod Mayo to DC, with the official title. You might have kept him around then. I don't think any other teams last season were desperate to hire Jerod Mayo as head coach. So
No.
that was an error from the outset. I sort of do sympathise with Jerod. I could see the pain in the eyes of Robert Kraft when he was giving that statement yesterday, and I'm the same. I think if you asked most Patriots fans when Jerod Mayo was hired, you of course you wanted it to work. Not just for competitive reasons, but it's a player who we drafted number 1 overall in 2000, first round in 2008, who was a long-term player, Super Bowl winner, who'd been on our coaching staff for many years, was the heir apparent. Everyone wants that to work. It's the same as like how Liverpool fans used to fantasize over Steven Gerrard being the manager and things like that. And I'm not saying Mayo was ever just like, an elite fan favorite, but it's the same kind of sentiment. Everyone wanted it to work, including myself. And you do kind of feel bad for him that it has gone to pot so quickly and he's out on his ear after a year. Now, I'm not saying he's exempt from blame, because he's not. There you could write lots of different things that he got wrong this year, but ultimately I think Kraft has done the right thing by taking accountability, because he should not have been in that position in the first place. He shouldn't have been given the job in the first place, and it's set us back 1, 2, maybe even 3 years now. So I was glad to see Kraft come out and make those comments, but yeah, I feel bad for Jerod, and I'm not sure where he goes from here now, because I'm not sure he's going to be, hired as a coordinator straight away. He might then have to revert back to being a position coach.
I think.
I think. Go on.
I think that's what he would have to go back to. It would just have to be, because obviously he wasn't he wasn't a DC in name. He wasn't. So, he'd have to go back to position coach and start all over again. Though we might not see him be a DC in the NFL for probably another 5 years or so. It might be a long time. I do feel sorry for Jerod, because he did get put in an untenable position. But at the same time, he didn't have to accept it. He didn't have to accept
But
it.
he would. He wants to be a head coach.
Yeah,
He's going to accept it all day long.
I don't
But this
think
was
you
not
say
the
no when
position
you
to
give.
do it. Yeah, but
I
this
don't
was,
think you don't say no when you given the opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. The opportunities don't come around all the time.
That's true. That is true. So
I
this
think
was a report that came out by Mike Giardi. Veteran New England Patriots players were losing faith in Jerod Mayo's coaching as the season went on. One vet told me, I lost faith we were headed in the right direction. When? In the spring? Why? Felt like they were making it up as they went along. It was amazing how one day it would be this and then the next something completely different. Another added, it became more about looking myself in the mirror and the guys in my room and huddle and saying, I'm leaving it out here for you because I never believed we had an edge, in brackets, in coaching. So even some of the veteran players were starting to get frustrated about it.
I think what told was in the press conference when Kraft said that, he's been doing a lot of thinking and he's been, but the last 4 weeks, it's just become plainly obvious. And I mean, you're talking the Cardinals game, you're talking the Chargers game. I think what hit me was when he said there has been a lack of development and we have regressed. I thought that's literally knife in and just twist it before you pull it out, because to literally come out and say to the whole world, we have the coaches have not developed the team and we have gone backwards. That's big. That's bold. That's quite a thing to say. So, I think he also said the highlight of the season was the opening game in Cincinnati. I think we all felt like that. It was because I think that was, looking back on it, that was probably the worst thing that could have happened, was winning that game.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing that could have happened to the Bengals as well, because guess what? They're not make the playoffs. So, yeah, we both got freaking screwed over. We got screwed over in week 1. But anyway, that's beside the point. Andrew Callahan, beat reporter for the Boston Herald, columnist for the Boston Herald. He wrote a column on the damning of Jerod Mayo's firing. This is what he had to say, okay? So hopefully you can all read that properly. He told reporters the concerns about the Patriots' offensive line, which had allowed pressure on almost half of the team's passing plays, were overblown. During an interview on WEEI, he guaranteed the Patriots would always field a strong defense. He even dared opponents to stop their run game. Well, how has our running game been all season? Oh, yeah, shambolic. Anyway, moving on. That was all in 1 hour. That morning, Mayo teased the worst of himself as a leader, a man whose immaturity is inseparable from his genuality and whose ego blinded him to the pitfalls that would eventually befall him and his team. I really fucking hate journalism. It's so condescending. It really is. He couldn't handle success after the least telling week of the NFL season and told the world that win had actually revealed something meaningful. Of course, Mayo would later walk it back when he described the Patriots' winning formula in Cincinnati as unsustainable. But it took another month and 3 brutal losses of him to come around to that idea. It took being humbled around Thanksgiving. Word leaked to certain NFL circles that Mayo wasn't getting his arms around the job, whether he knew it or not. That word came courtesy of his own colleagues. There's a general feeling by many in the building that the job's too big for him right now. A league source told Andrew Callahan last week. Some Patriots saw it then. Ownership learned soon after. In the final moments of his last press conference as head coach, it was clear Mayo still didn't understand. Like I said, tomorrow we'll have a lot of time to talk about, in brackets, the season. Mayo told reporters, but tonight it's all about these guys going out there and winning a football game. Then Mayo stepped down from the podium, walked towards an open door, turned the corner and disappeared from sight, and for good. It's a bit of a harsh way to say that at the end, but that's a pretty damning verdict on Mayo's tenure.
It was just
Because
one of many
wrong.
things.
Because it's not wrong.
It's one of many things he said that was wrong. Really, if you think about it, you know, it says here about the overstating the pressure on the offensive line and the unsustainability for the win of Cincinnati. But comments like this were being made back to the spring. It was burn some cash, didn't happen. It was Jacoby. Drake has outplayed Jacoby, and the best quarterback will play. He then plays Jacoby. We've had the soft comments in London. We've had, recently we spoke about Antonio Gibson's going to start, and he starts Stevenson. There's just a lot of dodgy comments throughout the year that he made that did not help himself.
And the thing is, Kieran, as well, the one. Go on, sorry, Kieran, go on.
What I was going to say is we can all sit on here, and other podcasts and beat writers can talk about comments that Jerod Mayo's made in the press. You got to remember that the players are reading and listening to this too. Like, genuinely, there will be players that will be out there reading what the beat reporters are writing, listening in on podcasts, watching things on NFL Network. Like, they're in tune with what's going on, and they're probably thinking, do you know what? They're right. You know, why is this happening? Why is he saying this stuff? So I think that is a part of potentially losing the locker room. Just showed his naivety and inexperience as a head coach, especially in a market like Boston, which is renowned for championships. And, you know, the Boston sports market is tough, and the city of Boston is tough. You can't get away with bullshit.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say to you, Kieran. As someone like yourself, obviously you've worked in a professional sports environment, you must imagine the Patriots media team must have been like just thinking every time he's going out to do an interview, what the hell is he going to say?
Yeah, no, 100%. I said on the podcast last week or a week before, like, I think Stacey James has got to take some accountability for this as well, because there seems to be a lack of briefing in the press conferences. Like, you've got Jelani Tavai coming out and slagging off the fans, which Mayo then tried to defend him in the press, and then Tavai doubled down on his comments. So there's a disconnect there.
Which is what I'm just about to bring up now, Kieran. Okay, so these were the 14 greatest quotes that Jerod Mayo or personnel actually had said. So and it's all here in place. So hopefully you can all read it. Where are we? This was veteran linebacker Jelani Tavai speaking Friday morning at WEI about whether he could see why fans felt compelled to boo during the 40-7 loss to the Chargers. He put, I don't know. There's a reason why they're fans. Everybody can say that they think that we should be doing. In the long end, they're not qualified to do what Mayo is doing or whatever the Pats are doing. The fans, I appreciate them at times, but sometimes they just have to know in their place. They need to know their place and just understand that it's a work in progress. When offered the chance to follow up Friday afternoon, Tavai apologized to any fans he may have offended, but otherwise stood by his remarks, which may have been the most cringeworthy of the season. A year defined as much by the Patriots' poor play as the media missteps. That's just one of 13, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
How the hell did the Patriots media team let Tavai get back in front of the camera the next? I just don't. That's what I don't get. There's obviously a storm. They know. Obviously, they know about social media. They've seen fans are angry, yet they still let him come out the next day and basically just double down on it. And excuse my French, just say "fuck you" basically to the fans again. Excuse my language, but it's just bewildering that amateur level of. Oh, it's so frustrating. It's just something you would not expect from the Patriots or from any professional sports team. Never mind the Patriots. It's just bewildering.
I would
Absolutely
expect
bewildering.
in that situation, Joe, that the Patriots media team would pull Jelani Tavai and say, "Look, those comments were out of line. Here's what we're going to do." Jerod's going to come out in his press conference and he's going to basically say that you were misinterpreted. And he's going to try and cover your ass. And when you're asked about it again, you're going to say, "Oh, the coach has already covered this. You know, I didn't mean what I say." And that's probably the end of it. But the fact that he's been able to double down and contradict the head coach is ludicrous. So I do think the PR department have got to take a lot of accountability for the nonsense that's come out in the media this season. And, you know, like we said, Boston's a tough market, but there are some good reporters there. They're not purposely trying to harm the team. They're just reporting on the stuff stuff that they're being handed on a plate.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So, as I said, number of quotes. So, this was going back to when he first started. When was this? 22nd of January. We're bringing in talent 1000%. Have a lot of cap space and cash ready to burn some cash. This was the first of several comments Mayo later walked back with the media. That was a rookie mistake by me. Mayo admitted in April. As soon as I got downstairs, Patriots Vice President of Communications Stacey James slapped me in there like, "What are you doing?" You understand what I meant, though. What I really meant, though, is we're going to be obviously smart with cash and smart with acquisitions. I was just very excited.
But we weren't.
We weren't. We bloody weren't. So in April 27th, Stan, oh God almighty. Yeah, this is not a good one. I think this is the one which had a lot of eyebrows. Right? Javon Baker's introduced himself in a vulgar Instagram live broadcast, basically turning around and saying that just come to the home stadium, bring your popcorn. That's all I can tell you. Bring your popcorn. I make people in wheelchairs stand up. I'm pretty sure that sounds like an Eminem diss track line somewhere along those lines. That was just a little bit awkward.
I don't have a problem with that one because I think he's just been drafted. It's emotional. He's not even technically on the team at that point because he's not signed the contract. And he's just like an immature young man who's just had his dreams come true and he's trying to get people excited. I wouldn't read much into that. What happened with him in his rookie season was an absolute disaster, but nobody foresaw that coming. Same with Jalen Polk. So
we still don't really have any answers.
Sure you can bury...
we still don't really have any answers to why Baker barely got on the field. That's what I'm more concerned about. We didn't even get much answers. He got his first reception in the game against the Bills in week 8 on Sunday. Something must have happened back at training camp or during training for the games and so on, because why would you not let your rookie receiver just unload? But anyway, that's besides the point. August 18th, Wolf likes the O-line. Yeah, this is the one I'm not very keen on. In a rare media appearance this summer, Patriots Vice President of Player Personnel Eliot Wolf told reporters he felt pretty comfortable with the team's offensive line. When he got challenged about it regarding a sign-off tackle, Chukwuma Okafor had moved to the right side. Wolf stood his ground. He said, so yeah, Okafor has taken reps on both sides. On one who took some reps at right tackle yesterday, I think we're just trying to find the right combination. Wolf said, we feel confident in all these players and we're just working to find the best group, run the best 5 individuals. Less than a month later, Okafor, career right tackle, got benched in the opener while playing left tackle and literally left the team. Owusu has played right guard most of the season. The Patriots shuffled personnel at all 3 of the other 10 positions. Yes, and on top of all that, we've had 10 different starting lineups this bloody offensive line.
I just don't get that.
Eliot Wolf was just talking trash, was just talking shit.
Just coming out and saying we're going to find the best group rather than the best 5 individuals. No, you find the best 5 players you can find for them positions. Your strength is your starting 5. And he's still in the job.
Yeah, well,
for now.
We'll talk about that for now. Right? September 9th, a forever run defense. After the first win against Cincy, he went on WEI again. Guarantee Pay will always find a strong run defense. We'll always have a good run defense. I truly believe that. Mayo said, and when I talk to the media, I'm talking to the players. I listen to this stuff like earlier. What I said was on Instagram or whatever it is. They listen to it. So here you go. Players will always be a good run defense no matter what. Okay. With 1 game left of the season, the Patriots run defense ranks 25th in yards allowed, 28th by DVOA, and 30th by EPA per play. That is fucking horrendous. That is horrendous. How many times did we see not even quality running backs, bog standard running backs run all over us for like 8, 7, 8, 9 yards? It was just absolutely hard to watch. And then in the same interview, Mayo declared the Patriots run the ball all year. Well, with 1 game left, Patriots run game ranks 13th in yards per game and dead last by DVOA and 3rd worst in EPA. Yeah, that went well. O-line concerns overblown. Again, 3 separate instances in 1 day. This one's going along in fucking brackets for crying out loud. Okay. For a hat trick, Mayo told reporters at some morning in a video conference that public concerns about the Pats O-line were unwarranted. Against the Bengals, the Pats rushed for 170 yards, but also allowed 43% pressure rate. I've been saying it for a long time. Mayo began. I think the whole offensive line conversation has been overblown. No, it hasn't, mate. Every game, every preseason game, those guys have done a good job moving bodies and establishing toughness on the line of scrimmage. They did that yesterday. I'm not really too concerned with the offensive line. Those guys are going to get better every week. With one game left, the Patriots offensive line ranked dead last by Pro Football Focus's run blocking grades and second worst at pass blocking. Tell me it's all overblown now. Again, we've walked it back. October 15th, Kraft spills the beans. I think it was an interview he did with someone called The Breakfast Club, I believe. I think it might be a podcast of some kind. I kept it for 24 years. Kraft said, I didn't enjoy having to fire him, but I tried to do it. It's regarding a Belichick, I'm assuming. If you look at the press conference, how it happened, I tried to do it in a classy way. What Belichick did for us was great. People need to adapt. People need to adapt. If they don't, things can change. Life's about getting good chemistry and trust. I feel that our record the last 3 or 4 years wasn't what I wanted. Kraft's comments shattered the facade he and Belichick had built over half our press conference last January, insisting they had done the right by each other and were happy to part ways. Belichick, 72, then failed to land the Falcons' head coaching job and was recently hired to coach at the University of North Carolina. With that, I will add to this. The last 4 years. Eliot Wolf came in 4 years ago. Coincidence? Anyhow. October 16th, Jalen Polk's boast. Minor an early season slump, Polk heard his head coach describe his struggles as being a mental hump. One thing you never ever do is mention that word to anyone that is struggling. That's one word you never ever say this to anybody. Not only did Polk dismiss that notion in October when he was in an interview with Mass Live, the second-round rookie claimed he belonged with the best receivers in the league. Yeah, that's where he should have stopped. I believe I have the best hands in the league, he said, so I feel like my drops, that's not an issue at all. At the time, Polk had 2 drops on 23 targets. Since those comments, Polk hasn't dropped another while catching 2 passes on 9 more targets. And then we're talking about 4 days later, a soft football team. This is the comments after the London game. And I think we could all agree on the pod here that we agreed that they played soft. That was an awful game we watched. I would rather go freaking 4 hours of hell in Frankfurt all over again than actually going back to Wembley to see that.
But you don't come out and say that about your team. You don't publicly throw them under the bus. You can be angry with them in the locker room. You cannot come out and do that. I think for me, that was where I lost all credit. Any credit that I had for the respect I had for Mayo went then.
He basically said, look, what I'd say is we're a soft football team across the board. I felt like we just went out there and played soft. We're playing soft at the moment. Now, in saying that, do I think we have the guys in there that can turn the ship around? 100%. But that comes through hard work and getting better each and every day. To their credit, the Patriots bounced back with a tough 25-22 upset of the Jets the following week. The Patriots bounced back with a tough 25-22 upset of the Jets the following week. Yay, it's the New York Jets. We give them their annual teabagging when they come to us anyway at home. October 24th, Boutte doesn't want to ask. So this was emboldened by his free catch performance against the Texans on October 13th. Disappointed by his 2 targets the following week. Second-year receiver Keyshon Boutte told reporters he shouldn't have to ask for the ball. For me personally in the game, I get frustrated when I'm not getting thrown the ball, knowing that I've caught every ball that's thrown to me this season. So I just feel like I would always go to the sideline and demand the ball. So whether it was that deep ball I asked for that. The Texas game, I asked for that, so I feel like I shouldn't have to really ask. Boutte is currently the Patriots' third leaving receiver with 36 receptions for 472 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, he got over 100 yards in the game against Buffalo. So, I don't know if that makes him the second best receiver we got behind Hunter Henry, I'm presuming.
He's our number
Well,
one.
he was the first player to do it in 2 years, which is an indictment on how bad this offensive roster has been for the last couple of years, that it's taken until week 18 of 2024 to have a 100-yard receiver. Says a lot about us.
So December 1st, a good old-fashioned Hagrid from Harry Potter quote. I should not have said that. The clock wound late in the Patriots' late game before their bye week. Indianapolis marched the length of the field, draining the clock and threatening to take the lead with less than a minute left. Mayo used just one of his 3 timeouts, and the Colts eventually scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion with 12 seconds left. Asked about his clock management post-game, a defensive Mayo referenced Belichick's decision to keep his timeouts late during the legendary finish to Super Bowl. The Super Bowl win over the Seahawks, basically. I'm not going to go. Super Bowl 49. Absolutely, there was a thought. We have also won a Super Bowl here doing it the other way. Mayo said during his post-game press conference, keeping our timeouts is what I thought was best for the team. A day later, Mayo had his regrets. I should not have said that. Yeah. I after that comment regarding of the timeout, if there's one pet peeve of mine in the NFL, especially with any team, is misuse of the clock, especially in the end of the fourth quarter. That is on you as a coach to sort it out. December 15th, you said it. I think this was the bit where the writing was on the wall here. I think this is the one here that really got the fans on.
This is the one I didn't like. I didn't like this one.
No. Mayo tossed his offensive coordinator onto all 4 tires with 5 words after the Patriots bounced in 30-17 loss to Arizona that followed the bye week. Asked if the team had considered running Drake May in a short yardage situation before getting stuffed twice at the goal line that loss. Mayo replied, "You said it, I didn't." Naturally, he walked his comment back for the following morning. I know there's a lot of chatter about the question last night. You said that. I didn't mean anything by that. It was more of a defensive response, and ultimately, and I tried to clarify that with the follow-up question because ultimately, all of those decisions are mine, so just wanted to get that out there. As reported by the Herald's Doug Kayed, members of the organization interpreted Mayo's comments as a shot at Van Pelt, which it clearly was. And then December 28th, Stevenson was sit, but doesn't. I think this is just pretty much self-explanatory. He put Gibby is going to start.
I mean, we touched on this last week, didn't we? We touched on this last week. This was one of our conversations last week. And I said that if that was a trick play, he needed to let everybody know. But if he didn't, then he was just sprouting words for saying anything's sake. So we talked about this comment at length last week, but it doesn't change. The fact is, he has made so many mistakes.
Yeah, he has. I think naivety and inexperience has been massive, but ultimately it's cost him the job. And now we're looking for another head coach. But yeah, it still makes me feel a little bit sorry for him. But on the other hand, you can't be excused from any blame whatsoever, because there was clearly an element of his coaching and the way he handled things behind the scenes and in the public sphere that we're not good enough. And it's a shame how it's worked out, but it is what it is. And we move on.
He's been the master of his own downfall for me, though. I think that's the biggest thing.
I don't 100% put the blame on him. I get that his coaching abilities wasn't up to par, and it's not a head coach standard, knife and stretch to the abilities. But who has he really had as staff coordinators around him? Everyone bailed. Everyone's left.
That's his decision.
And he's been left.
He recruited his own staff. That's his decision.
Yeah, but do you not think
the staff recruitment's on him?
But do you think no one actually wanted to come?
I think that's a really good point. There's a lot of reports that Alex Van Pelt was the 12th offensive coordinator we interviewed, and the first 11 turned us down. I think there's a really good point there that Dave's making, that we were not a desirable place last year. And I think hiring somebody that's only ever been at the Patriots was a downfall, because it's really hard to recruit a staff because he doesn't have connections. He's only ever been here. And I think for me, which is when we're going to segue into where we kind of think the Patriots should potentially go, I am all in the camp of blow it up. I don't want anybody who had anything.
I don't want any I don't want
anything to do with a dynasty. I don't want anything to do with how we were victorious 20 years ago. I want it all completely gone, because I think we've tried to let's recreate the Belichick and the Patriot way without Bill Belichick, and I think that's ultimately why it's not worked. I think we need to just do something completely different.
I do get the point of view where people are saying, well, we're going to go back to getting a rookie head coach again, and if it all doesn't turn out to be like, if it turns out to be like we've done with Jerod Mayo this year, we're going to then step back another 2 years. I get that, but
my big concern is, as a head coach, ultimately I want a head coach to kind of have like a superpower, like one thing you can point to that they're great at. And I'm perfectly okay with getting Ben Johnson as a rookie head coach, because even if he is not a wonderful head coach yet, he's an insane play caller. And I'm getting that regardless of how good a head coach he is. With Jerod Mayo, one of the reasons why I'm okay with cutting and running early and not kind of falling into gambler's fallacy, like I can't think, and I've racked my brain the last couple of days because I feel kind of really bad. I love Jerod Mayo as a player, and I think he's getting far too much vitriol from Patriots fans online. I think he seems like a good dude. He was promoted above his station. He shouldn't have been there. It was a bad hire. And I think plaudits to Robert Kraft for saying, okay, I recognize I made a bad decision and I'm going to correct it as quick as I can.
Could you see him coming back as DC coach?
I don't think you can. I don't see how you bring, because he how can he look players in the eyes and motivate them when he was the head coach and now we've gone, oh, you're really bad at that. But let's put you in. I just don't think you have to just have a fresh start. But I think for me, that's the stuff I struggle with Jerod Mayo. What's his superpower? He doesn't seem to be a leader of men, which is kind of what it was billed as, but it's just not worked like that.
Lost the locker room.
He's not got any kind of schematic or play calling abilities. He's not going to attract a great staff because he's only ever been here. Like, what is it about Jerod Mayo that makes you go, that's the guy that's going to take us to the promised land in the future? You don't have that. And that's why I'm perhaps a bit more attentive. I want a kind of, the football nerd. I'm more in the Ben Johnson, Mike McDaniel kind of. Okay, I want somebody like that, as opposed to my concern with Vrabel is what's Vrabel bringing that we win in terms schematically, or I mean, it's all the big question for Vrabel is who's going to be his DC and OC. But then you get to other sides of things with actually
is it that Reese guy in it from Alabama? So I've been hearing.
Supposedly, but again, what happens if we get a couple of good years of him and then off he goes somewhere else?
All I would say is Bama's play calling this year a lot of times was fucking horrendous. Horrendous. So again, that's not this. Yeah, no. I agree with JD. I don't want Vrabel. I don't want anything to do with a dynasty. We need to go along and get the next young, hot prospect head coach. We need to go out and get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson can be our Sean McVay, our Mike McDaniel, can do for us what they've done for Miami and LA respectively. Like, my biggest bugbear at the moment, and I know a few of you will probably agree with me on here, is Eliot Wolf. Whilst that guy's still in the building, for me, there's still a cancer deeply, deeply rooted within the organisation.
Well, and until that's cut out, the head coach,
until that's cut out, till that's cut out and removed, I think it's going to be very. I worry about what direction we're going to go.
So there was a post. There was a porter from NBC Boston, Phil Perry. Everyone stopped flipping out about Eliot Wolf not being fired. I'm told that there is no guarantee Eliot Wolf will be leading the personnel department in 2025. If a new head coach is hired and has strong feelings about bringing aboard a new front office chief, as would be the expectation for someone like Mike Vrabel, the belief internally is that the Crafts would be open to that kind of suggestion. And that I actually 100% agree with as well. Because if you fire your head coach, you have to get rid of the GM as well. It's either you stick with them or you blow it up. You don't try and play patchwork. You don't try and pick.
Well, we don't have a GM. He's just an advisor.
One of the best GMs is out there on the market at the moment. Kieran, we've spoken about this in the group. Go get Joe Douglas. There is no better guy for me out there on the market at the moment who would jump at jump
what
at the
about that
job.
Falcons guy? The other Falcons lad. It's got a weird surname. Durkov, Jerchioff. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Thomas Dimitrov. Obviously, he's been here before.
Yeah.
But it sounds as if, with regards to Vrabel, he has a good relationship with Mike Borgonzi, is it, at Kansas City, the assistant general manager there?
Yeah.
That could be potentially a name. I know some reporters saying that could be a name to watch. If Vrabel gets the job, Mike Borgonzi could come in and take over as GM. They're also saying on the NBC Sports Boston podcast that it could be a situation because Eliot Wolf isn't the general manager, someone could essentially take the general manager's job. And Eliot Wolf could still keep his job, but he would essentially be demoted or be reassigned to a different role. Now, he's been at the team for 5 years. I don't think he's done enough to warrant staying on, but if he does, it would give me a lot more confidence knowing that there's someone else calling the shots, regardless if he's in the room or not, and he's assisting with his grading system or whatever he's doing with his scouting. Like, there's going to be someone that is going to be above him that will be making the final call. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable if that's the case. But
I wouldn't even demote Eliot Wolf to go and clean the toilets. I think he's fucking useless.
I think one thing I will say about it.
Hang on, one at a time.
I think there's a bit of a kind of chicken and egg scenario, really, in that, like, is Eliot Wolf the problem or is Jerod Mayo the problem? And I think with some of the comments that Eliot Wolf's made, and then you've seen Robert Kraft say as well, that they've brought up the development of players like Jalen Polk and Caden Wallace and things like that, and Kyle Duggar's regression and stuff like that. Those players have not progressed; they've regressed under the current coaching staff. And so the argument, I guess, you could make in favor of Eliot Wolf is have the coaching staff not develop players, not coach them in a way that it has players who we know can play playing significantly worse than they have in the past. And so maybe they don't see the problem as the roster as much as perhaps we do, and they think actually if we get rid of Jerod Mayo and give Eliot Wolf the chance to bring his players in with a more competent head coach, they might actually be okay. And that seems to be where I think
wasn't Eliot Wolf part of the team? Wasn't he part of the Green Bay team that recruited Jordan Love?
Yeah.
You know, he was part of the front office team that brought in Jordan Love.
I thought he's been with New England since 2020, so I'm not sure whether that would have been pre-draft or not. But
just to stop you there, guys, a bit of breaking news coming through from me and Rappaport. The Patriots plan to interview. Oh, where's it gone? I'm just going to do it on here. The Patriots plan to interview Mike Vrabel for their vacant head coach position on Thursday, sources say. So that's
they can sign him on Thursday as well because he's unemployed.
I
honestly think it's great.
However, there's been a new name that's come into the mix as well, and that is, of course, the Raiders. They fired their head coach as well, Antonio Pierce. He's now gone, and Brady, who has got a small ownership stake in the Raiders. You don't think he's going to have he's not think he's going to try and freaking upset the apple cart by trying to get Mike Vrabel in on him?
Yep.
I think the Vrabel interview with the Jets last week was what got going.
Yeah, I think it's
if you want Vrabel, it's interview him as ASAP and recruit him ASAP. Don't mess around.
The two best options that New England have right now is Mike Vrabel and it is, of course, Ben Johnson. The next one down for me would probably be someone like, I don't know, like a Liam Cohen, the OC off the Buccaneers. That would be my next option, and then we will be then starting to panic then, thinking, are we back in the same situation again?
Two candidates. I think there
you think it's Vrabel or Johnson?
It's Vrabel or Johnson. One of them's going to get the job. Yeah. I'm absolutely going to triple down on that. Now, we talked about Liam Cohen last week, ties to the New England area, and they're sending OC, but that would be a little bit of a gamble for me. You've got the choice between Mike Vrabel, obviously experience, will know how to handle the media, like tough, knows will instill a culture, when we'll be able to bring experienced, good coaches with him, and potentially a new general manager as well. And then you have Ben Johnson, who's obviously less connected, but as JD said, an insane play caller. And if you look at the current state of the NFL, all the Super Bowl winning head coaches since the Patriots won it in 2018 season have all been offensive head coaches. So Johnson is the belle of the ball. Now, he's going to need to be surrounded with experienced coaches. And I've seen two. I've seen two mentioned that could be viable options. One of them is Joe Philbin, who he worked with in Miami, and the other one is Lou Anarumo, who just got fired by the Bengals. Now, 2 years ago, Lou Anarumo was being touted as a potential head coach candidate. Now, I think he's been scapegoated a little bit by the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals personnel on defense, aside from maybe 2 or 3 players, is pretty poor. So I wouldn't be opposed to Lou Anarumo as our DC. But yeah, there are going to be obviously less connections for Ben Johnson. But it's what do you want? Do you want? I feel like Vrabel's probably the safe option, and I've got no issues with him coming in, but because I thought he should have got the job last year. I said that last week, but it's kind of like, do you go safe or do you go a bit edgier and go with the bell of the ball? One of them's going to get. It's
again going defensive minded again. I think we need something more offensively now. I get that our defense is good, but we need to focus more now on offensive liners. Enough with the Belichick, enough with the Mayos, enough with Vrabel. It's now got to be offensive. And Ben Johnson is the best play caller at the moment, without a hands down. Just imagine it with Drake May, him, and say he does get a Higgins, and we like draft a Banks or mate. That is just insane. That'll be like from here.
My choice for DC. And I just seen Nick's messaging this. I'm wondering if it's going to be along the same lines. Would be Robert Saleh.
Yes, I would.
There is no better defensive coordinator out there on the open market for me than Robert Saleh.
Yeah,
I think. Look, his defense. Just give a shout out to Julia there. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator for me.
Whether our personnel fit what he does. I think you're looking at the 49ers system that Salah ran. You need like a Fred Warner linebacker, who currently our middle linebacker is Bentley, who is not a Fred Warner style player. He's a run stopping thumper. So I think you'd have to completely overhaul the defense as well, and we would be more zone focused, which doesn't kind of play to the strengths of our team. So that does concern me. But one of the interesting things about Ben Johnson, I was thinking when we were talking there, was while he might not be as connected as Vrabel, he's also been a viable head coaching candidate for 3 years, and he is the belle of the ball, as a few of us said so far. There'll be people who want to work with him, and I think that he didn't take the Washington job last year because he wasn't happy with his staff and the opportunity. So I think if he can get who he wants, and he's surely got in his head who he wants, and he's already talking to people when he knows there's a good chance at the end of this season he's been a head coach. He's been talking for the past year or two to people that he wants to come with him, and I think he'll have a decent enough staff as well. And I would definitely want to see Ben Johnson have a much more experienced, hopefully a former head coach as his DC. I want like Sean McVay had in Los Angeles when he got there. He was 35, and
Wade Phillips, didn't he, or something?
Yeah, and he had Wade Phillips as DC, a former head coach. There's very few people more experienced than him, so he could help him and guide him. Jerod Mayo didn't have that. We had rookies across the board, and I think that really showed. There was nobody in the room to go, Jerod, shut up, or Jerod, we need to be doing this. He didn't have that, and I think if we get Ben Johnson in, we need to surround him with a lot more experienced staff than we did Jerod.
Yeah, 100%.
I wonder how many coaches would come over from the Lions too.
Yeah.
I mean, I take that tight ends
would
coach.
Antoine Randall follow him?
Well,
plus, also someone like Ben Johnson, for me, I think is going to be is going to attract people in free agency. Like, if you're T. Higgins, you think, well, actually, this guy's the best play caller in the NFL right now. If I go to New England, he's going to make me look good, and I might get another bigger contract after this contract because he's going to make me look so good. So I think that will attract offensive talent, which we desperately need.
The only attractive part of the Patriots job is Drake May. Drake May is an absolute talent. Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, that's pretty much all we got. But you bring Ben Johnson in, that level of enticement is going to go through the roof, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So mostly through the play designs and so on, but also on the offensive line as well. because they're like, okay, we've got an OC who can get these receivers open, but it'll be down to us to actually make sure we can actually keep this quarterback on his feet. And I think the way we need to go about this, Chicago is still sniffing around Ben Johnson as well. The only reason I think there's a chance we might not get him was there was a report that come out said there is also a chance that he also may want to stay close to home. And close to home, i.e. near Detroit, between Detroit and Chicago. That's the only.
Nobody wants to be in Detroit.
That's the only option because he is trying to also put his family first.
I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about what the most desirable jobs are in the league, and a lot of people do think that it is us. You know, we are obviously. Yeah. You're forgetting.
Especially
it's an insanely historical franchise that has had a lot of success, even in recent times. Before the last 5 years, we won the Super Bowl in 2018, which wasn't ages ago. We have obviously, we have Drake May. We have the 4th overall pick, which is still a premium pick, and we have $130+ million in cap space. So the new head coach can come in and build his own team straight away. So I think it is a desirable job. You come into an outstanding, probably arguably the best sports city in America as well. I think it is a pull, and Chicago is definitely a pull as well. They're certainly more equipped than us at the moment, but. Is that much more desirable than us as a whole? I'm not entirely sure. I think it's quite similar, and it just makes me think like I said, it's going to be one of these two guys. I don't think when you look at coaching candidates every year, normally they're talking about 4 or 5 guys that are at the top of everyone's list. But it seems like everyone's going to want to interview Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, and then it's going to be a scrap for who else. Because we spoke about Liam Cohen, there's Joe Brady, like there's other guys as well. Maybe
Flores,
Robert Saleh might
rule out either.
Flores,
Brian Flores, I wouldn't rule out. I think he got hard done by though in Miami. He actually walked out. He got hard done by in Miami due to
and
the
he's got that lawsuit on his head for next year as well.
They're second choice guys, aren't they? They're going to be no one's top of the list. No one is going into this recruiting process for a head coach and going, do you know who we need? We need Brian Flores, or we need Joe Brady, or we need Liam Cohen. Everyone's going, right, can we get Ben Johnson? Can we get Mike Vrabel? They are the 2 names on everyone's lips. I think
you have to remember the only person that you can interview right now is someone who's not in work. So that's Vrabel or, Robert Saleh. Anybody who's not in a job, you can interview right now. Anybody else, you have to wait.
You can do interviews, but it has to be done virtually.
You can't employ them.
If anybody who wants an in-person interview has to wait until the 20th of January. By the 20th of January, there is a good chance that you have lost some of the candidates because they will have gone elsewhere. If Vrabel is your man, you get him this week. If he's not your man, then you have to wait for your guy. Then you better hope that you get him, because if you don't get him, you've lost all the other options. Joe referenced it there. I put in the thing in the chat about left field. What about a man who has head coached previously?
Don't you dare say Rex Ryan.
No, I was going to say a man who has won multiple Super Bowls, has been a head coach before, is currently a DC at probably the best team in the league, Spags.
Yeah.
He will take a head coaching job.
Steve Spagnuolo. I think
Steve Spagnuolo.
I think he's found his niche. I think he's gone, I'm not a head coach. Yeah. And I'm really happy being Andy Reid's defensive coordinator, because he keeps getting brought up and keeps declining interviews. And I think he's a man who's getting older and is like, I'm really happy in this role. I can just do nuts things as a defensive coordinator. Possibly. So I would be definitely amenable to having him there
are coaches that can be a head coach, and then there's coaches that can just be coordinators. And I think Steve Spagnuolo
he's kind of like the Josh
basically-
McDaniels equivalent, isn't
He's
he?
a Josh McDaniels. He's a coordinator. He's not a head coach. So I'd rule that out completely. I want to sidetrack again away from the NFL coaches. What about anyone on the collegiate level? What about anyone in the college? There's only two names that are coming to mind. Notre Dame's head coach.
Dare.
I like
Notre Dame's
Freeman.
head.
Marcus Freeman.
I do like
Marcus
Freeman.
Freeman's going. He's going.
Go
nowhere.
and go away, whistle, go and whistle, Dixie. Don't care. No, he's just signed a brand new contract to stay at Notre Dame. You can, hey, you can all go and sod off. You're not taking
Hold on,
Marcus
whoa.
Freeman from South
I'm
Bend.
with you. Marcus Freeman's going nowhere. He's about to win the national championship. He isn't going anywhere.
Correct. He is about to win the national championship.
And the other option is the Oregon coach.
Nah.
Did you not watch what Ohio State did to Oregon last week?
I did. And
no,
wasn't
no,
impressed.
thank you.
Wasn't impressed.
No.
So, I think we got two main
What
candidates.
about getting Nick Saban out of retirement?
He's tried coaching the NFL. And
It's been to the NFL that didn't work.
He did one season in the NFL and he realised, this is not for me.
Nick Saban's getting paid a coach's wage to appear every Saturday on game day. College game day. You tell me what you want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like you
What
don't
about the
often
Patriots?
get good head coaches come directly from college. Like it's normally the other way around, isn't it? Coaches drop down to college and have success. But I mean, Marcus Freeman has done a ridiculous job at Notre Dame, and he's a young head coach with a big future. He will probably be in the NFL one day, but I'm not sure it's going to be anytime soon. Like I think he's going to have his sights set on the championship. I think, although Nick, what I would say is, if Notre Dame do win the national championship, that could make him more tempted to leave for the NFL now he's achieved the goal.
Yeah.
Kieran, I don't want to fall out with you. What about the Patriots Touchback podcast team? We could do the coaching.
Oh, 100%.
Dude.
I mean, I can make the
really?
team.
I would genuinely love to see the
Kieran, you're
creativity
GM
of
100%.
JD.
Yeah, Kieran's GM.
Give me that roster.
Yeah.
I'm giving JD the most explosive offense in the NFL if you give me the GM job.
Kieran's
You got to give us all roles now, though, Kieran.
Kieran's
So
the GM.
JD's our OC. Come on.
JD's the OC. Joe, Nick, you're the offensive line coach. I'll probably say between you and DJ, you can shove it between DC and linebackers coach or something.
No. I'm special teams, mate. I'm special teams.
You're not taking Jerod. No, if there's one coordinator we're keeping, it is Jeremy Springer. Okay, that's a rule. That's a rule.
You don't want me being DC. I'll just be calling zero blitz every single play.
Yeah, and that's not good. Anyway, it's not been the best of seasons. It's been a horrible one. And with the coach being fired now, it's all now a refresh and a restart all over again. Over the next 2 weeks, we probably will find out who our next head coach is going to be and potentially who our coordinator is going to be. In that meantime, Eliot Wolf is still in with a job. He needs to start. I hope he's been starting to make the phone calls and the emails on which free agencies to sign. I did see a report going around that apparently T. Higgins, and this could be a massive blow for us, is apparently that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are trying to pester the ownership to keep Higgins as much as possible. Higgins has also said he's also willing to take a pay cut just to stay with Burrow and Jamar Chase.
We'll see.
We'll see about that, but money talks and that walks. So we'll have to see. And if he does get in, I think if right now it's just Drake May, I think he is 50-50. He could go to Drake May, but he doesn't know if he's going to be any better than Joe Burrow. But if you get Ben Johnson in as well, he's going to be like, okay, I got an OC who knows how to scheme for me, and I also know a quarterback who can actually get me open. So that kind of... Oops, I missed my screen up there.
I'm on the T-Mac train with Kieran. I'm officially on the train, Kieran. So Me and you will ride that one.
I love T-Mac. I do love T-Mac.
T-Mac and Drake May with Ben Johnson will pay mortgages for years.
The T-Mac train is almost sold out. I've still got room with me and Nick on the Cam Scatterboo train. If anyone wants to jump on that, let's get on board. No, absolutely phenomenal.
I've got one. Here we go.
I don't think Stevenson's our guy.
A later round pick for me, and this again is going to be. I'm biased. I'm not going to lie. I'm biased. RJ Harvey from UCF.
I've got to say Samson.
RJ Harvey. He's not a 3-down back by any means, but RJ Harvey is a really one that I'd love to see us go for on day 3.
Yeah, I think obviously there's going to be plenty to come.
Who's the other guy
now
from Boise State? What's his name? Gentry.
Oh, Gentry. Well, we're not.
You know, I can tell you.
He's going top 10.
I can tell you exactly where he is going.
Dallas.
That was one of the options. He could also go to the Saints. I don't think Kamal's got a lot left in the tank anymore. He had a very good season this season. I think I'll be shocked if he's not a Cowboy.
He's a kind of one you can just see Jerry Jones absolutely creaming his pants over.
Just thinking exactly the same thing.
Jerry will want some glory hole.
No, just a crucial factor though with the head coaching stuff. Like obviously, you want to move somewhat fast because like you need to install a regime quick enough because the draft will soon come around and so will free agency. But also on the flip side, you want to take time to interview and evaluate all your options. I think now that we've satisfied the Rooney rule today with interviewing Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton, I feel like that's a sign that because now we're free to hire anyone whenever we want. I feel like that is a sign that things are going to move very quickly. I think we will, by the time we get on this podcast, potentially next Tuesday, or maybe even earlier than that, I think there will be a new head coach in place, or at least someone set to take over. Because if it's hiring Ben Johnson, he obviously isn't going to be able to take over until if and when the Lions either win the Super Bowl or eliminate the playoffs.
Kicked out before, yeah.
So, but I think we all know who it is by this time next week. I think just to throw around the horn again. I think we all want Ben Johnson, but who do we think it's going to be? If you had to put your last tenner on the Patriots next head coach, who's it going to be?
Mike Vrabel.
I think it's going to be Vrabel. I want Ben Johnson, but I think it's going to be Vrabel. My only worry is the way Kraft came out and said that we had a success plan for Belichick and blah, 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 and that success plan was Mayo. It's got me worrying who the fuck we're going to get this time around.
It's worrying if he just goes after Mike Vrabel because of the retread.
I think step around from the shit. We need to get away from this.
I think
it's Ben Johnson. Am I right in saying last year we didn't interview?
No, we didn't do interviews.
Jerod Mayo was just simply handed the job.
Because it was in his contract. It was already in his contract. So that's why we didn't have to interview anybody. But it was already written in his contract that when Bill Belichick left, when Bill Belichick either resigned or was sacked, that Jerod Mayo was already contracted to take over. So
I think it will be Vrabel. Obviously, I really do want Ben Johnson. I think that could be transformative for us going forward. I'm just curious, though, JD, what makes you think it will be Ben Johnson and why he would pick us and why they would? I know, obviously, he was the first interview request we made, because that could be quite telling. But, I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
I think if it was Vrabel, I think it'd be pretty much done already. Because there's nothing to hold that back. And when Kraft wants somebody, he goes and gets them like he did with Mayo. Like he put a plan in for Mayo for 5 years. This somebody who knows what he wants, like in business and in football. I think Ben Johnson is the guy he wants. And I think having the quarterback in place with our draft capital and our cap space the team is a blank canvas. And I think if Ben Johnson can walk in, and I think he can just walk into any room, any interview that he has and go, I want this, I want that, I want that. And if Kraft is willing to get his checkbook out and do it, I think Ben Johnson will come here. And I think that would be the right thing to do. I think Vrabel is probably our backup plan. And again, I don't think Vrabel's in any rush. I think he's going to take all the interviews he wants and pick whichever job he likes. But like Kieran said, I think by next week we'll probably know whether if Ben Johnson intends to come here. If it's going to be Vrabel, I think it'll be done by next week. But I think if it hasn't, it'll be Ben Johnson.
I
think it's also key to point out that Ben Johnson is also an alma mater of North Carolina and has worked there in the past. So that link with Drake May as well is quite important. It's a tough one because Ben Johnson's going to have his choice of all the jobs at the end of the day, isn't he? And I think you're right about Vrabel in the sense that Vrabel probably has the Patriots at the top of his list. Like if he gets offered the job, he's going to take it. But he probably also knows that if he doesn't get the job with New England, that one of the other teams is probably going to hire him. I think this is what
we're hoping. The one team we're hoping for that if Vrabel doesn't go to us, the one we're hoping for, then it is the Bears. That's the one we're hoping
for. Or the Raiders.
The Raiders, I can now see them being. I think they are only going after one particular coach. I don't think they're going after a hiring. I think they are. I think Brady has seen that and he's like, yeah, okay, let's try and get Vrabel in. Which, if that is the case, New England have got to be on their P's and Q's when Ben Johnson has the interview. They've got to just go, yes, 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 yes. That's basically that's all they got to do.
Can you imagine if the Jets sign Mayo as their head coach?
I'm just praying that the Jets do the Jets thing and hire Rex Ryan.
Have you seen that team? That's a punishment worse than death. It smells of death over there as well.
Interview list is interesting to say the least because they obviously got the obvious names on there. But they're in. I mean, I know they're trying to be thorough and interview as many people as possible. But you've got guys on there like Rex Ryan. Like
Rex Ryan's been out. Rex Ryan's been out the league for like 10 years.
Like the guy who's been the interim has been an absolute disaster, and he's interviewing for the job. Like it's just like you're never going to get it. Like
to be fair, he did take the Jets to 2 AFC championships.
Fuck Rex Ryan and fuck New York. You know my feelings on that subject.
Very good. What he said.
But yeah, honestly, I do feel like the Bears and the Patriots are the two most coveted jobs, and all the others will have to fend off whoever's left. I think Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel are going to one of the two top teams if I had to pick. And then it'll just be down to whoever fits next. But yeah, I think it will be Vrabel, but it's definitely going to be one of those two.
Okay, I want to do a quick fire around the horn for this one. Okay. 3 players for next season that you would cut. Who do you not want on the Patriots roster? At least just 3 of them. Nick, we'll start with you.
Oh, thanks.
I've got my 3 already, so I can. If you want me to start, I'll start already.
Low.
Yep.
Low. 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 No.
Carry on.
Fedrin Low.
He's still going.
I hate to say this, Cole Strange.
Okay.
And Kendrick Bourne.
No.
Whoa.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
KB.
All right. Okay. DJ, you're 3. Who would you cut?
And Tavai. Can I have 4? Tavai as well?
I've got Tavai.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't cut him, but I'll try and. I think I tried to trade him, and that's Stevenson. I think we should try and cash in now while we can. And the other one. See, I'm not so thingy about Lowe. I think he's got the ability to be something, but
he's a third stringer at best.
Yeah,
Come on, let's not kid ourselves here.
Fuck, I don't know.
We'll come back to you. Kieran, what about you?
Brissett. I don't fucking know. Jacoby.
Brissett's going to leave anyway.
I think there's definitely more than 3 that I would love to get shot on.
I know,
there's
but
the obvious ones like Jake.
I know, but the 3 you hate.
Jacobs cracker at right tackle has to be one of them. Jamontre Jacobs is probably the worst right tackle I've seen since I've been.
Yeah,
he is dreadful, and the fact that Eliot Wolf can go out and defend the O-line when you've got him at right tackle is just beyond me because he is just so bad. So I'm going to highlight Jamontre Jacobs as one. Yeah, I mean, he's interviewing for the Bengals DC job, which is interesting.
That's fucking mental. You can take him.
I'd swap Anarumo for Covington, 100%. Let us have Anarumo. I'm not going to highlight. There's too many obvious ones there, to be honest. Like, there's going to be so many that everyone will say. So I'm going to go with different ones. I'm going to say Tavai. I think culturally he shot himself in the foot. I think he's a good player on his day, but you don't want someone like that in your locker room in a rebuild. Like, it's just not good, not acceptable for what he's come out and said. So I'd get rid of him.
Taki, he's been shit.
Yeah,
he's been injured for half the season though.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Cutting. Do you know what? Probably no, because they're going to be free agents anyway. Like, it's so tough. Yeah, there's far too many for me. Like, I wouldn't re-sign Jonathan Jones. I wouldn't re-sign Dietrich Wise. So yeah, but if I have to outright cut someone who is set to be on the roster, then maybe I would go with Bourne as well, because then I think we need to revamp the receiver room.
Okay, JD.
100% Bourne. I don't think he's that good. There's not many receivers I've seen just be in the wrong place as often as he is. Like, it's not even like he's a young player. He's been in the league for like 8 years now. Like, that guy just does not have it upstairs and does immature things and just is not that impactful. Probably get rid of him. I completely agree with Tavai. He was on the top of my list just because the comments he's made. He's obviously not going to be a fan favorite very long, and I just don't know what he does well. And I really sort of got in the linebacker court, but Raekwon McMillan as well is somebody who I have been very disappointed with this year in the way he's played.
He's gone. He went ages ago.
He already went, didn't he? He already went. So, yeah, there you go.
Weeks ago.
Jacob, I think, has been an issue. There's a lot of kind of like bottom of the roster players that I think I'd obviously get rid of. I think a rogue one for me will potentially be Joey Sly, because I think he's just too inconsistent as a kicker. He's got an absolute.
We don't owe him any money, so we can kick him out for nothing.
Cool. Yeah. We can get something cool. And here's what you do. You trade Kendrick Bourne back to the 49ers for a 5th round pick, and when you take the 5th round pick and you go and get Zavada, the kicker out of Michigan. Done.
I don't know if anybody's giving you anything for Kendrick Bourne, to be honest. I don't know what he's done.
Somewhat, I mean,
I think a lot of thinking. The thing for me with Kendrick Bourne is I think a lot of coaching staffs have just given up on him. And when this many coaching staffs have given up on a player, it's probably a pretty good.
He's a hype man. He's very good. He's very good, like galvanizing the locker room in a way as a hype man.
Great guys.
He seems quite immature, and I appreciate accountability in a player. But if after every game, pretty much, you're sending out a tweet saying, "Yeah, this is my bad," at some point you need to stop saying it's my bad and just start doing something right. So yeah, I'm not a Kendrick Bourne fan, as I'm sure you can tell. Okay. But yeah, the only receiver I'm really that bothered about keeping would be Pop Douglas, and I'm not too fussed about the rest of them.
Okay, Joe.
Valerian Lowe, just get him out of there. Tavai, and the one that is it absolutely breaks my heart to say because I love him, love the guy to bits, but David Andrews, I just don't see where he fits in next year. Yes, he's great, but he's coming off another serious injury. He's missed so many games the last year. Obviously, I know with his health, etc. Obviously, he had the blood clots, and then obviously the injury. And I know he said he wants to come back next year. He wants to play. And I think we spoke about it earlier in the year on the pod. And we all said that if David Andrews wanted to come back for another year, like we were talking whether he's going to retire or if he would come back. I just think it needs to be a fresh start. He's been a great servant for us. But for me, I think it's time to move on.
I think he's probably one of those players that you if you're going to do that, you tell him and you just let him retire.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think he's probably, or you just keep him around. He might not be a bad person to keep around culturally and just have like somebody who's won a Super Bowl and been on a really good team to just kind of not even necessarily play, to be a backup and just kind of transition into becoming a coach.
He already posted on his
like what Slater's doing.
He already posted on his Instagram page that he will be coming back and he wants to play to at least 2027. That's basically what he said.
He said, didn't he, that they'd have to drag his key card out of his hand and kick him out.
When he does announce his retirement, Kraft should say, okay, jump on the coaching staff then and get ready to be offensive line coach or something, because you can't get a better person than David Andrews to probably be coaching that O-line, for at least for a center anyway.
The one thing I will
Nick
say,
will know this. Go on, Joe.
The one thing I will say, I think that is vitally important to keep around is Slate. You need to keep Slate around the building, regardless of the regime change. Matthew Slater must be kept.
Okay, so Andrews will cost $8 million to release. Yeah.
Unless he redoes a contract.
Unless he restructure the contract. But yeah.
Stay for next
I think just about to say Nick will know a little bit more about this, but there are some centers in the draft who you could potentially take on day 3, who could be the heir apparent. The name that comes to mind that I had in my list a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago was Jake Slaughter from Florida. Has graded out really well this season.
What a name!
Gators. Great name. If he declares, I think he's a junior, so obviously he'll be declaring as an underclassman. If he declares, I think he's got current around about a 5th, 6th round expectation at the moment. You could take someone like him to, obviously with one of our day 3 picks. You're sitting behind David Andrews for a year, and then let him take the reins in a year's time.
Well, we don't know what Jake Andrews
highly regarded.
Yeah, let's cut Jake Andrews in instead of David.
I don't know if Jake Andrews is ever going to.
Jonah Mannheim from USC.
Or Jonah Mannheim from USC. Yeah, that was the other name.
Jonah Mannheim, USC.
Two good ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want a big Samoan on the offensive line. Just give me some big Samoan dude who can beat the shit out of a D lineman. That's what I want. I'm not asking for much.
We want a Vita Vea, but on the offensive line.
Someone from
someone
from USC or Oregon. Just like one of these colleges. They get all the boys from Hawaii, like who come from Hawaii, Samoa. Just got one of these big boys on the line who can just absolutely throw themselves about.
Yeah. So my three is pretty straightforward. Vidarian Lowe, DeMondre Jacobs, and Jelani Tavai. They're my 3.
What about sign, Carl?
Huh?
What about sign? Like 3 players we want to sign or draft to bring in.
We are running out of time.
If we were the GM.
We've been going nearly an hour and a half now. We are slowly running out of time. One more thing before we get on out of here. I'm just excited
for a better off-season. Sorry.
Well, I know we are, but obviously we will get over that in the next few weeks or so. Once the coaching hire's been fine, then we'll have a look at the obviously the free agency class and obviously the draft class as well. For this coming year anyway. One last thing, and I know I've already said this already, this season has been an absolute tire fire when it comes to the Patriots. But as a podcast, especially in going through 2024, we've done a heck of a lot of work. We've brought in 3, frankly, amazing new people coming on board, helping us with the podcast, meeting us all up in London for the game and so on, and doing our distribution of all our socials and that sort of thing. What's been your highlight of the past season to do with this pod? I'll start with you, Joe. I'll go reverse order this time.
Oh, I think mine was the night before the Pats game in London with DJ in the Pats bar. I thought that was a great night. I don't remember much of it.
Yeah.
I got a T-shirt.
We met Kraft.
You want a T-shirt?
Yeah. I was trying to get Robert Kraft to sign. I was trying to get Robert Kraft to sign my aircraft ones. He was having none of it. What a night! What a night!
People were trying to get to the glass door.
Oh, you were there as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, sorry, mate. I completely forgot you were there.
I was taking so much video footage. Unfortunately,
yes,
I don't have enough to make.
Carl.
I don't have enough to take. I don't have enough to make it into a vlog.
Apologies. Apologies. I've got loads of videos. I think. Apologies, man. I completely forgot. See, that's what I mean. You were there as well. Yeah. What a night!
Cool.
What a night!
That's cool. JD, what about you? What's been your?
I think getting to meet all you guys at Wembley was awesome. Seeing you from below the shoulders was exciting, and just getting to take my sister to her first Patriots game was awesome. And getting to meet all you guys as well.
I was going to say it was nice to meet your carer.
Yeah. I do think it would be good in the off season for us guys to try and meet up at some point in the summer. Or something before the, I don't know, but we can arrange that off air.
Yeah, we can arrange off air. Kieran, what about you, mate?
Do you know what? Obviously it was fantastic to meet everyone at Wembley, as I said before, and obviously to get involved with the podcast. But I've just genuinely enjoyed coming on here, most Tuesdays, and being able to just vent, alongside Patriots fans who are feeling the same as me. I said last week, Carl, when you did a bit of an outro, sort of saying that it's hard when you have other friends that either don't follow the NFL or they follow the NFL but other teams, and they don't quite understand what you're going through and what it's like. So it's been great to come on here with 5 other British NFL fans. We all spread all over the UK, and obviously DJ's case in another country, but. We've all got one common collective.
Oh, yeah.
We've got one collective love. That's the New England Patriots, and that team brings us together from all over the country. And I think it's fantastic. And we've had some really great conversations on the podcast this season. I've loved the fiery moments. I've loved the funny moments. There's going to be plenty more of that to come. So that's just been the highlight for me. Even Carl just losing his head at someone, or the funny sort of one-liners we've had all season. It's just been great, really enjoyable.
Awesome, mate. Awesome, Nick. You and me have had to hold down the fort a little bit for most of last year, but what has been your highlight?
You know what? This pod has grown from strength to strength, I like to think. And, away from it, we all have our own things going on. We all have our own issues. I've had my own, and this pod has kept me going. And I'm in a really good place now away from this pod, and I just appreciate everybody. The new guy, JD and Joe and Kieran that have joined us, and Luke's not here, but I still appreciate him, and DJ and I just enjoy the group, like Kieran said. It's really nice to have some banter with the guy, and I respect the fact that we've got listeners and everything else. I wouldn't care if nobody listened. I don't do this to get, glory and everything else. I just do it because I enjoy talking about football and I enjoy talking about the Patriots. So it doesn't matter to me how popular we are. It's just fun to do it, and it's just nice to do it with guys that you enjoy spending time with. So I couldn't say anything more than that, really.
Last but not least, the governor, DJ.
Yeah, for me, it's similar to what you guys have basically said. I mean, the first time we ever kind of met up as a group in London was fantastic. Going back 3 years ago, when I first had discussions with Nick and Carl and Luke at the time of trying to do this as a podcast, as a new venture. So I appreciate that we did jump on and created what we've got now. Like I say, I appreciate each and individual for what you guys do. And it's not, I mean, yeah, it's a podcast, but at the end of the day, it feels like I've made 5 extra friends, outside of this. And at the end of the day, it's like Nick says, you come on and you kind of like disconnect from your day-to-day lifestyles and you just want to focus on chatting Patriots. So yeah, so cheers, guys.
Absolutely. Right, we're getting on out of here. It's been a long pod. We've had a lot to say. Thank you to everyone that's been watching. Thank you to everyone that's been listening throughout the entirety of this season. We will be back next week, hopefully with a bit more news on who our new head coach could potentially be. But for now, we're getting on out of here. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Gronk spike the subscribe button. Not hit it, Gronk spike it. Tell all your friends. Follow on all our social media platforms, including on Instagram as well, which my man Joe down there is in charge of. And also follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts as well. Plus, follow us on Twitch as well. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Patriots Touchback Podcast. And for now, God night, God bless, go Patriots. It's a new dawn. It's a new beginning. Let's fucking go. Peace out.